an established enterprise both maintain its commitments to its existing line of business and catch up with the next thing, or at least keep the next thing from catching it? And so the book is called Zone to Win. It came out of work that I've been doing with Salesforce, the executive teams at Salesforce and Microsoft. And so it's about 10 or 12 slides. I just want to share with you the framework. I think it'll be helpful. Let me get a sense of the room. How many people here work in a startup-like environment? Yeah, startup. Okay, so that is crossing the chasm. That's the first time around. How many people work in a established company, a larger company, either got acquired or you just work in a larger company? Okay, this is more for you. And for those of you who are at the startups, IPO liquidity is getting kind of tough these days, so you might get acquired, in which case you will have this framework for you as well, okay? Okay, all right. So let me kind of work you through it. So just the driving function here is, you know, we always like to say we live in a special time, but we live in a special time. And what's going on here is we are having these disruptive innovations, and disruptive innovations just, you know, something people keep talking about. But what's going on is we're getting this cascading series of disruptive innovations. We talked about convergence for a long time in the 90s, but really nothing converged. Well, now it is. And the importance of a disruptive innovation is when something that used to be scarce and expensive becomes ubiquitous and cheap. And I think the way you should think about it is it's essentially free. Okay? So you say, okay, cloud computing, basically that makes automating anything free. I mean, not quite, but pretty damn close, certainly compared to 15 years ago. Now, have we automated everything? No. So, wow, free automation. Maybe we should think about that. Mobile means you can communicate with a billion people on this planet for free. Now, by the way, that's literally true. It's free. You don't pay for the device, you don't pay for the internet, you don't pay for the network, you don't pay for anything. Right? So, gosh, we can communicate at any time with anybody on the planet at will. Are we doing that? Probably not. Wow, maybe that's a disruptive opportunity. Social networks. Now, social networks is an interesting one because you think, well, I mean, really, liking cats for free? I mean, who cares? But if you think about it, Uber is a social network. Travis Kalanick adds a car and a driver to his network for free, right? He doesn't pay for the car and he doesn't pay for the driver. Brian Chesky at Airbnb, he adds a piece of property and a property manager to his network for free. Now you think about, whoa, there's a lot of, all of a sudden the gig economy has made it very clear. We have enormous capacity to deliver value to each other for free or for a small amount of money. But basically you don't have to set up these laborious systems. So very interesting. Data science is not free yet, right? Data science is actually very expensive. If you have a child, you might want your child to marry a data scientist or be a data scientist because the signing bonuses are pretty damn good. But the point about it is, once you write the algorithm is free, right? I mean, it runs for free. It doesn't like negotiate cost of living increases, okay? So, and Internet of Things means I can now take this optimizing of digital systems, which I can optimize for free, and now I can optimize the world. Now, are we there yet? No. Are the sensors out? No. But you can kind of see where this thing is going. And so all of a sudden what's happening is in the most traditional companies you've seen, I mean, these are not tech companies at all. People are going, wow, the design rules for the world have changed. It's a digital world. It's digital first world. We need to rethink everything. Okay? And that's kind of why we're in this room. It's why it's such an exciting place to be in San Francisco right now. This will move trillions of dollars. We saw kind of the client-server internet thing do a version of this in the 90s with kind of the back office systems. This is changing the front office of the world. This is changing every relationship in the world. Healthcare, education, retail, hospitality, it doesn't matter. Love, marriage, war, everything. Okay. Now, let's suppose your company has decided to leverage these capabilities, which are essentially free, and bring them to the world. And the question then becomes, and this is a B2b model that I'm going to share with you right now. How many people here are in a B2B business? How many people are in a B2C business? Okay, about 50-50. This is a B2B idea that I want to share with you right now. When you bring your offer, which is leveraging one of these miraculous, or maybe more than one of these miraculous capabilities, the customer can absorb that at the infrastructure level, which means I'm not going to change my operating model. I'm not changing my business model. I'm just going to run my infrastructure faster, better, and cheaper. So I'm going to use cloud computing. I'm not going to build a data center. I'm not going to buy a bunch of storage. I'm going to use AWS, and I'll get it. I'll get Elastic Cloud. That kind of idea. I'm just changing my infrastructure. Save money, good stuff. Or they can say, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to change the way I work in the world. I want to use this stuff. I still want to be in the same business. I still want to charge the same customers for the same services, but I want to deliver those services dramatically differently. And by the way, I will need new infrastructure to do that. And then the third one is, no. Given all this stuff, the old business model is just stupid. I mean, it's crazy. No, you should not have to stand on a street corner waving your arms, hoping a taxi will stop for you sometime before you die, right? You should be able to summon one on a phone, right? So it's a different business model, which obviously implies a different operating model, which obviously implies a different infrastructure model. So the key idea here is you're selling at different places, and I'm spending time both with Salesforce and Microsoft. You can kind of watch their Salesforce trying to sort this out. So both Microsoft and Salesforce have very, very strong relationships here. The good news is the budget is in place. There's a very clear value proposition. The bad news is the value prop is basically to save money in 1% of the total budget of the company. So most companies spend about 1% to 2% on IT. And the value proposition is of that 1% or 2%, I can save you 10% of whatever you're spending on me. So it's like pfennigs. I mean, it's like basis points of savings, but it's still a lot of money, and it's there to be, the money's already there. When you go to the operating model, the money's not there. If you sell technology, you have to get these people to think, I'm spending my money the wrong way. In a digital world, I should not be hiring more people. I should be funding more programs. In which case, I should take money out of my operating model and actually give it to the infrastructure model in order to get more digitally effective. Okay? So the good news here is that's the other 99% of the budget, and the amount of money you could save is ginormous. The bad news is you have to get a relationship with this person who doesn't know you and probably doesn't even think they're supposed to talk to you, and convince them to repurpose their resources and then get them into this budget, and then you got to go to this person and sell the offer. So you can see that it's a more demanding thing. And then finally, at the top, this is like catching lightning in a bottle. So this really is Travis and Brian and folks like that. But occasionally, when you get those people, they just change the world. So the key idea here, and it's something for you to be thinking about as a product manager in your go-to-market, depending on what value proposition you're packaging your product around, you're going to ask of your colleagues in the go-to-market side of the house different levels of effort, different levels of complexity, different demand with different rewards. And one of the cool things about startups often have a charismatic founder who can attract attention here. They're just that kind of person. Okay? Once you're in a larger company, this is less likely. This turns out to be possible if you can get your people out of the rut of doing this. So I wanted a different framework. And so but I wanted a framework which explained the resource allocation dilemma of a large enterprise. And so the two key variables here are, is it a sustaining innovation or a disruptive innovation? So sustaining innovation means it's innovation. When Intel comes out with a new microprocessor in the 8086 architecture, that's real innovation, but it's not disruptive, right? It just kind of goes right into their system. So that's sustaining. Disruptive innovation is like, I have to rip and replace it. I actually cannibalize my old business. I threaten my current ecosystem. I need early adopting customers. I mean, it's a very, very different motion. So most companies understand that the organization that's going to do this and the organization that's going to do that, probably not the same organization. And so they say, okay, let's separate those two. The other one is who's bringing in the money and where's the money getting spent? So basically, when you say, and by revenue performance, I mean in big chunks. So we use 10% of total revenue as how you get over the line. If you have a product or a line of business that contributes 10% or more of the total revenue of your company, you get to be above the line. If not, if it's a new product, or if it's maybe a cost center, you're in HR or legal or customer support, you don't make any money, you spend money, you're below the line. Okay? So basically, you look at that and you think, all right, that didn't seem like rocket science. The nice thing about those 4 squares is you can be pretty literal about where people go. This isn't like, well, I don't know. How do you feel? It's pretty concrete. So the performance zone is where you make 95% of your revenue and probably over 100% of your profits from your existing lines of business. So if you are Salesforce, this is Sales Cloud, this is Marketing Cloud, this is the platform, this is Service Cloud. If you're Microsoft, this is Windows, although not as much money as it used to. This is Office. This is, it's the big chunks, okay? And basically the key idea here is, people, if you're in this zone, you have a number in your compensation plan. You either sell what we make or you make what we sell. But either way, you have a number. If you sell what we make, you have what they call a bookings number. And if you make what you sell, you have a revenue number. But there's a revenue. You have a number to make. And if you have a number to make, you're in this quadrant. If you don't have a number to make, you're not. So most of us in this room, I don't know, how many product managers here actually have a number built into your compensation plan? Yeah, so okay, a few. Not many, okay? Most of us in product management will be here, which is the productivity zone does all the work behind the scenes to make the performance zone successful, right? And then the performance zone likes to take the credit, so just get used to it. But the point, so this is finance, legal, HR, customer support, marketing, everything every program or system you can imagine that the company needs to stay out of jail, so be compliant, be efficient, and be effective. It's all run out of here. Okay? And by the way, in an industry that's not being disrupted with the 5 waves of innovation, you're done. That's 100% of the company. We're done. We can go home. But in this world of disruptive innovation, virtually all companies of any size have said, we cannot be that ignorant of disruption. Even though we're not disruptors, we're Hallmark cards, we're Ford, we can't ignore the fact that the car is becoming a digital artifact, and the greeting card is becoming a digital artifact. So we at least need to have some part of we should take some of our money and put it in the incubation zone. Highly disruptive, but not at scale, okay? Not at scale. So it's experiments. Fail fast, be agile. Every cliche you've ever heard about innovation all goes here. Now, what's interesting about large companies is virtually all large companies that I interact with have all 3 of these zones in place, and they all operate reasonably well, and they kind of get along with each other in a sort of arm's length way. The problem statement is with the 4th zone. So the 4th zone is, I am going to take a disruptive innovation and I am going to turn it into a real business. I'm going to take something that might be 1% or 0.5% of total revenue, and I'm going to take it to 10% of revenue. Basically what I'm going to do, this is a stopping place on my way to here. I'm going to take this product or this line of business and I'm going to scale it to the point where it is now part of my major book of business. This zone exists in the CEO's presence. The CEO is the only job in the company that has the power to reallocate resources in order to make this happen. Because here's what's going to happen. We're going to go through a J curve. We're going to say, I'm going to take resources. In order to get this to scale, I have to take these people and put them to work on this. Well, just think about that for a minute. I'm taking resources from the most profitable thing I can do, that I can do with the least amount of friction, and I'm pouring them into something that is the hardest thing I can do. It's not clear it's going to succeed, and there's no ecosystem. In fact, my existing ecosystem is in resistance to my idea, And my existing customer base thinks I'm crazy. And the customers I need to go, I don't even know.